But first one's actually Maokai and now Gnar.
So, Jwaow banning out Maokai, that is not his style of champion. He prefers the aggressive top laners. You're looking at a Rumble or an Irelia. That's what we'd expect out of Gamers 2.
Following that up with Syndra and Jace, so there is one of those predictions. What were our last two? Perhaps a Lee Sin, you mentioned the Zed.
Yeah, there are options. Zed, I would imagine, is going to be the last ban here, and then End Faculty will probably look to take away the Lee Sin after picking a top laner for themselves. So there's a lot still on the board, but Ocelote's team have banned out Orianna, and that is a big statement here.
So in their games from last week, in their best of 3, while they won it 2-0, he played Zed in both of them. They did play Orianna in their tiebreaker game between Reason, but banning it themselves, and then there's our final ban from Infacted, that Lee Sin that we predicted.
So now the question is, Gamers 2, do they want the Corki, do they want a top laner, or do they want that Zed first pick? There's a lot open here, and Gamers 2 have it all to decide, but we know Ku won't be on Lee Sin.
No, so they're grabbing that Irelia up, one of the strongest top laners left available after the Gnar and the Maokai bans.
Yeah, so essentially what Gamers 2 are doing here is they're saying, we're going to play Irelia. What we'll leave you with is Maplhite as a pick here. We've already banned out Maokai. That is the next best thing that we expect Xaxus to pick here. I'm pretty sure even Gamers 2 are expecting that. So that's going to be a big factor here for End Faculty. But they have the option. They can take the Zed away, and the Corki here would potentially be two big pickups for End Faculty.
We've also got the junglers, which we've commonly seen picking in round 2 at the moment. Jarvan is still here and open, with only Lee Sin as the single jungle ban. Kha'Zix is also a high probability that we've seen throughout the course of the event. So they've still got 15 seconds left to make their decision. They are hovering their Kha'Zix now there too. So we'll see where this leads, but if the Corki gets locked, I think that's almost a definite Lucian for Gamers 2. Yeah,
you'd have to imagine at this point, and I think that's also going to be an almost definite Jarvan, but actually, maybe they're leaving Ku more.
Yeah, last second switch then from Faculty. Corki and Sona to be their bottom lane combination. Happy to just take those two and sit them down there and leave everything else open.
Yeah, so at this point, I think KaSing may even opt for something like a Thresh here as his support pick. That's what we've seen out of Gamers 2 quite a lot. KaSing will favor that aggressive catch-style support into a Sona, especially with, look at how much burst and sustain Corki and Sona have in that lane. That's a massive statement.
Yeah, and we did see Ku grab that Jarvan pretty rapidly afterwards too, so we mentioned how he was highly contested on this patch and in this tournament. So Ocelote, wow, very quickly following up with an Ahri.
Yeah, so Ocelote on Ahri in that middle lane. We were kind of expecting Gamers 2 maybe to look to counterpick mid, but we know that obviously Ahri is a very comfortable champion for Ocelote. Some of the more difficult lanes have been pushed away from picking here. Syndra banned out Orianna. This makes the next best amount of sense here. So Gamers 2 have themselves some pretty strong champions already, but End Faculty's bot lane are looking good too.
They've still got to pick, obviously, jungles, mid lanes, and top lanes. They've got complete free roam and all the time in the world to pick what they want to shove up against that Irelia. We've seen a couple of rumbles throughout the weekend, but it doesn't fare the best. But at the moment, they're looking for an idea of mid and jungle.
If they lock this Fizz and then pick Maplhite up in that top lane, they have almost no wave clear in this situation. They're relying purely on Corki and Kha'Zix, so they have to be very careful at this point. If they lock in that mid laner, that I think potentially is a better choice.
So they do switch at the last second over to Zed, and that will be alongside obvious on Kha'Zix once he swaps that to the jungle. But there's an immediate response. KaSing grabbing that Thresh you suspected earlier on. As soon as he saw that Sona come out, I think his mind was made up. But the question is, who do they put alongside it? And Lucian, I don't think, surprises anybody.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense there. I mean, we'd already anticipated what that was going to be. It's a fairly easy one. But now we're left in a situation. Do they pick the Maplhite? They know Gamers 2 will likely have expected this. And the Maplhite-Irelia matchup is a difficult one for Maplhite to come out ahead on, because it kind of just deteriorates to a farm fest, and you're kind of forced into just using your ultimate later on in the game for an engage tool. There's not a lot of damage that's going to come from that in that top lane role. So it's up to End Faculty. What exactly do they pick out here? But they have got Zed, who is going to be able to go split push mode when they're going to want to.
However, as you mentioned with that, they lack a lot of wave clear with the rest of their squad. Only Kha'Zix, Void Spikes, and Corki Rockets.
Yeah.
When you've got such a strong siege on Gamers 2, that could bite them.
Yeah, indeed, because obviously Zed isn't going to want to be with the team wave clearing. If that is the situation, Zed is already in trouble, because at that point, you really cannot do too much. And there's our full lineups.
Yeah, last second Maplhite switch up and lock in then for Xaxus. So Maplhite versus Irelia in the top lane, KaSing, Jarvan in the jungle, as we've seen time and time again. Ahri versus Zed in the mid lane, and Lucian, Corki, and Sona, Thresh down bottom. So all these champions have been seen throughout the course of this event in slightly different combinations, but as you mentioned, there's a massive lack of wave clear coming from faculty, so we're just going to have to make sure they don't fall behind and make sure that Gamers 2 cannot put any siege onto them.
Yeah, that is a big problem that Faculty are going to have here, because they don't exactly have the best amount of wave clear we've already talked about, but what they are going to have is a lot of damage. When you look at their damage sources, Zed is going to be able to 1v1 someone, Corki's going to have a lot of burst with Sona as well, and we know what Kha'Zix can do when you get those resets. So, they, on the other hand, Gamers 2 do have to be a tad careful when it comes to who they put up against Zed and where they push out.
Exactly, but that is our 10 players, that is our 10 champions, and we are about to jump into the load screen for the first game of the day. Gamers 2 versus Faculty in game 1 of their best of 3. Don't forget to join in with the conversation, guys, at LolEsports on Twitter and hashtag LCS expansion to share your thoughts with us and to share your feelings on how this game might go.
An interesting tidbit of information as we head into game 1. These two teams very recently have been in this situation, in loading into the first game of a best-of-3 series, and the last time it happened, if I'm not mistaken, it was Faculty that had their hands raised in victory. So everybody, there's a lot of hype around Gamers 2, but this series we feel is going to be a lot closer than everybody expects.
The thing with Gamers 2, while they've got a lot of fans, there's a lot of hype around them, they've invariably in the last couple of tournaments, the last couple of events they've shown up, played, everyone's got excited about them, but they just fall short of what everyone expected them to have. But you can hear it on your screens now. We are ready to jump into game, and there it is. Gamers 2 are the blue side down in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, playing with Ocelote and friends again, and Faculty are our red team down up in the top right-hand corner, heading down to defend the entrances to their jungle. There's one thing here that I want to touch on too. We showed it at the start. SozPurefect had an amazing kill participation stat from the last team's best of 3. But you just mentioned how Zed wants to split push. Doesn't really lend himself to that big playmaker helping his team out that we saw last week.
Yeah, that is a good point, though. That obviously, this is not that team-oriented pick, but you have to feel that Faculty aren't really going to be so concerned with SozPurefect's kill stats. As long as they're good, that's all that really is going to help out Faculty in this one. But Gamers 2, a little bit different from what we're used to here.
3-man invade from then coming up towards this red, just to make sure they can get some vision on where Obvious may or may not be starting. They do get that ward in after a little bit of damage onto Ku, but he will back away and heal that up just fine. Now, Obvious has to figure out what he's going to do, knowing that Gamers 2 will have that information and be able to track him for the good 3 minutes of this game.
So one thing that we're used to a lot in 4.19 is a lot of top lane trading. Heavy kill count up in that top lane role, you see so much action, but this matchup is going to be very different. Irelia and Maplhite is going to be a farm fest because neither really is going to have the damage to kill each other in the laning phase. So we're looking for seeing where the jungler is going to make plays. I have to feel like it's probably going to be a little bit towards that mid lane.
So Obvious is starting himself here at blue from the looks of it without any help from his bottom lane. So he may not actually be able to interact with anyone before he bases first time around because he's going to be a little bit lower than perhaps Jarvan. So I say that, Jarvan didn't get any help either, so both junglers may have to wait a while and get some health back before they can make any kind of lane impact. Bottom lane, of course, we all know how important this early level 2 may be, and right now, Gamers 2 don't look like they're putting up any kind of fight to stop Faculty pushing them and getting this early level 2.
No, KaSing really needs his level 2 before they can do anything in this lane. You need both Hook and Flay at this point. Flay is going to give you the added auto-attack damage, but it's really that catch potential from the Hook. And once you land one in lane, it actually is going to draw jungler attention down to the bottom lane because you cannot get hooked more than once or twice in lane and actually survive it.
Trying to grab those souls, takes a bit of punishment for his trouble. And that mountain goes to seal deal 2. So he's burning through a couple of potions slowly, but in the mid lane you can see SozPurefect has already taken quite a bit of punishment here from Ocelote. And while it's only 2 CS, that's 2 CS that SozPurefect has lost this tower already. So Ocelote really is taking the pain to him quick and fast while he knows that his jungler has to dance around that red buff ward, because he hasn't killed that yet. You can see Kha'Zix on your map at Golems has avoided that red buff completely.
So, at this point in the game, typically Ocelote would have to start playing a little bit more passively. It's around the time that junglers are going to have both buffs, but as you already said, the vision gave them the knowledge that Kha'Zix hadn't yet got there, and he's only there now. You could see Ku was hanging around just in case, looking for a counter gank, but Ocelote was being as aggressive as he possibly could at that point, which is, you know, a sign that he's reading this lane well.
So, Ku looking for an opening elsewhere then, because he can't do it mid. So far, they have pinged down onto this bottom bush by Gamers2, but they can't kill this creep in time.
This is highly unexpected as well. So this is Ku doing something unorthodox, and it may pay off. It's all on the hook from KaSing, though. He's got to try and line it up.
In the range. Could go for that hookup. Could be there if he EQs onto Sedrion, but they are being very, very patient here, waiting for Faculty to push forward. And that phosphorus bombing is exactly what they want. And he comes. Knockup goes onto Sedrion. The lantern is down already. Sedrion has to flash, but he's still very, very close. Flash forward from Ku for the red buff, and first blood to Yuki. There's the hook follow-up onto Mountain. He's going to go incredibly low and may even die himself, and it's a double kill for Gamers2.
Really nice, unorthodox timing there out of Ku. And one thing that everybody said coming into this game, especially, you know, challenger players like Freeze said Ku is very easy to read when you have experience against him, and that is not standard at all on the current meta. Great, well-worked 2-0 lead here for Gamers2.
Kha'Zix comes down to soak up some experience and hopefully grab some gold, make sure it doesn't go to waste all to this tower, because Corki and Sona will not be back in time. But that is a very strong start for both the bottom lane and the jungle here now for Gamers2, having split the kills evenly between them both. Spirit Stone and Longsword picked up then by Ku thanks to his spoils of war and a pickaxe on Lucian.
That's a massive amount of damage difference in the bottom lane there. Lucian is going to be able to trade very well now, and it's become a lot more difficult for Sedrion and Mountain. They've got to play more passively up until level 6. Neither of them have flash available, and that is going to make a very risky time in that bottom lane. But Ku is looking to make another impact on the game. He's already changed up his sweeper, so in a couple of minutes that'll be available. He'll be able to take even more control of vision.
He's a little bit behind, obviously, in levels because of that gank. Obviously, going to actually go in on him, but force him to flag and drag away. That's the most he's going to get. Level 5 to level 4 because Ku had that gank instead. Now, he's hiding off to one side here of SozPurefect, who is playing very, very cautiously, as also Thresh was nearby for a little bit. He roamed away out of that bottom lane, so SozPurefect suspected something was up as Lucian is down there 1v2ing.
Yeah, this is kind of quintessential KaSing. It's a thing that he does as a player that not a lot of other supports do, and that is roam around to the mid lane at around the 3 to 5 minute mark, depending on how his lane is going. It's a little bit later if they get a kill in bottom lane. Sometimes it catches people off, but obvious.
They're trying to make something happen mid. Ocelote takes the Void Spikes and shrugs it off. He will go back to base and buy it anyway. He is currently sitting on a fair chunk of gold, of course, with that 40 CS and no base. KaSing throwing out another hook in that bottom lane, but can't quite connect this one, but it's enough to scare Sedrion back, and Yuki goes for a bit of a trade in which he does so much extra damage with that extra pickaxe.
So for the first time in the game, Irelia is going to head back as well, and let's see what she's going to pick up. It's a farming lane, so going to pick up the Phage here from Maplhite, which is actually a little bit of a weird buy here, because the movement speed that you're going to get from Phage is just going to get stolen away from Maplhite's Q. So very interesting that you know, you get that extra movement speed. A lot of the time you'll see Sheen picked up, and that'll just add more damage to your trades rather than giving you that utility.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, the Sheen pickup, they normally max the E along with it to maximize that burst, but he's still gone for his hit and stuff for that W, so not the most effective. But thanks to these wards from KaSing, they have managed to spot Obvious making his way down towards this bottom lane. And while Ku is standing on a ward of his own, both junglers are here to make sure the aggression is slowed a lot further. And Obvious now trying to do this Wraith camp. They know Team 2 are coming for him. He goes over the wall. Can't follow it up with a hook though, but now all three members of both bottom lanes and jungles are here, and the mid laners, sorry, are looking to stray in this direction.
Corki's only just crossing over though, and they may be able to catch him out if he appears in vision range, but I think Gamers2 are going to play this a little smart.
Blue buff does get... Where did it go, actually?
I believe it went to Kha'Zix, yes.
I saw both smites go off, but I didn't see where the buff ended up. There we go. Obvious picks it up and evolves himself some spikes. as he makes his way towards that Wolf camp. So it's a nice try from Gamers 2, and they do manage to stop it going on to Zed, who, to be honest, I think kind of needed it at that point, because he is struggling to farm here against Ocelote. While the numbers are even, he's been missing a fair few CS from the times we've watched that lane.
Ooh,
Hook lands bottom though, it hits on the Sona. You're going to get a lot of damage out from Yuki. The Lantern is there to try and pull him into KaSing. He does use it, but can't quite get in range enough to finish her off.
But all of these trades are going very well in Gamers 2 favor. And remember, they're not the lane with the sustain support. So if they're trading very well, not losing a lot of health here, and Faculty, it's going to take them time to recover that health in lane. And that's not the best prospect here for them. However, it looks like their flashes are about to come back from cooldown, so you may see that flash crescendo engage out of Sona in the next minute or so.
Yeah, hers is off under exhaust. Corki's will be up soon, and he has got that heal up still as well. On the other side, Gamers 2 have both of their summoners too, and Faculty are obviously going to know this, having not burned it away. Let's look at the top laners again for a bit. You mentioned the items they have before, but ultimately 70 SCS to 70 CS, all summoners up on both sides. They're going to be comfortably sitting up there for quite a while now. Obvious clearing out a pink ward that he finds on his ill roams around while he's trying to make another gank in onto Ocelote. That's the second at least that he's tried to find an opening for so far. Well, can't quite pull it off just yet. Only a 500 gold lead for Gamers 2, despite those 2 kills at the moment. They are slowly losing it as the lanes just comfortably go back to being a bit more of a farm-centric focus.
That lead is quite important at this point, because look at how bottom lane is pressuring out down against that Corki Sona. They're actually forcing them so that they can't buy at all, and that just gives them that massive damage spike, which is why they're trading very well in this bottom lane. So that initial gank from Ku has had such a repercussion on this laning phase that they haven't been comfortable in the bottom lane for Faculty for the last 5 to 6 minutes.
Obvious leaps in onto Ku. He does EQ away, but Zed's come over the wall, pops his Ignite, and is doing all the damage he can. Ku will fall, and SozPurefect picks up the kill and the red buff.
Ku decides to try and take down a pink ward for nothing at that point, and honestly, I'm not sure that was worth it, and that's the problem, is Ku is really in trouble.
Ocelote, you didn't use a charm. You used your Orb of Deception onto Perfect, who dodged it with ease, and then you ultimated?
I guess he was expecting a follow-up there from Faculty, knowing he was 1 versus 2. But I don't think that he was actually in any danger of that.
But there was a ward there. He watched KaSing walk the other direction.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say.
So he knew KaSing wasn't there. He knew it was just SozPurefect. And wasted his ultimate. So interesting from Ocelote. But, I mean, there's a lot on the line right here. There's nothing to say that nerves may not be a factor. Yes, he's been around the block a few times. But he's been sitting in this Gamers 2 house for quite some time, looking to get back into the LCS.
Obvious is having a great game right now. He's been farming up so much that he's actually level 8 to Ku's level 6. And even though Ku made his authority felt earlier in the game with that bottom lane roam, Obvious has just been warding out a lot better. He's now got a sight stone as well. And that is just putting Obvious so far ahead. It's only, I guess, 500 between them, but this early on in the game, that is a massive difference between the 2 junglers.
Yeah, when Obvious didn't get any early kills, 500 gold lead for him. Quite a surprise. We do see Gamers 2 though using that final base timing on the bottom lane from Corki Sona to sneak out a quick dragon, and there is nothing that Faculty can do about this, even if they knew it was happening. It does drop down, and Gamers 2 grab themselves another cheeky 1,000 gold just in time for Lucian to back up and buy that. So Corki returns to lane with a Sheen and half of a Phage, and we're going to see Lucian grab a BF sword.
Yeah, he had 2,000 gold on him when he backed out of that lane, so Corki getting his first piece of the Trinity Force, coordinating with Lucian, getting a BF sword alongside his pickaxe is a terrible spot for Faculty's bottom lane to be in, because although Corki may reach that spike a little bit sooner of having that Trinity Force, Lucian just has so much more damage in this laning phase right now. And that is a problem for Faculty. They're only 900 gold behind right now though, but we'll see what Yuki and KaSing can do down in this bottom lane, maybe to extend that.
So, thanks to that slight change in lane pressure, Sedrion actually took a slight CS lead while Yuki was out of lane, but he has now evened that up with all those creeps that were at the tower. And of course he has that big dragon creep under his belt too for Yuki and his gold count.
Yes, indeed. But take a look at the lineup for trinkets for Gamers 2. they've already got all 4 sweeper trinkets and the blue trinket. That shows you how important vision is to their game right now, and maybe this is their read on the end faculty stats that we had with regards to objective control. Gamers 2 have come into this game and they say we need to make sure we don't let end faculty get any kind of objective, so let's set up a lot of wards, deny their vision, and play our own game. And so far it's got them in the lead right now, and this is exceptionally early for all of the trinkets to be changed.
So, let's look at the junglers again. Because Ku is invading and checking the red buff and stealing another pink ward off, while Obvious is down the bottom half of the map, comfortably killing a Wraith Camp, having just picked up the blue buff for himself once again. So he's going to keep farming this jungle pretty rapidly. There are pings there from the blue side onto Obvious's blue buff. So they either suspect that he's there, or they ping that he should have just been there at some point as they hand off their blue buff to Ocelote as well. So they have those timers locked down. Bottom lane, as you mentioned, while there's a BF sword and a pickaxe here on Yuki now that they've finally had a shot onto Corki, he's still got a fair bit of damage himself, so it's going to be interesting to see if they choose to take a fight or go for a hook. While in the top lane, Sunfire Cape has been finished for Maplhite, but still not quite on the full Trinity Force from Irelia.
I feel like SozPurefect has to get going across the map here. He needs to move out of mid lane, where Ocelote is just pushing him in constantly. That's really the danger of playing Zed, is if you're playing against a champion, they'll just push, push, push in towards your lane. It's a lot of pressure to deal with, and if you roam, you lose your turrets. So they need to get SozPurefect to the top or the bottom lane, probably more likely the bottom lane the next time Dragon spawns, but end faculty, it's on them to get Zed going.
Again, we see KaSing doing his thing, roaming around the map, using those mobility boots to go off out somewhere else, not into his bottom lane where Yuki is being pushed into the turret, and KaSing being there is not going to change anything about that. So goes off to see if he can do anything to help Ocelote out. Case is, no, nothing there this time around. SozPurefect is deep under his own tower, and KaSing cannot get close. We are very close now to a completed Deathfire Grasp, though, on Ahri, completed Trinity Force on Irelia, completed Trinity Force on Corki, and a Blade of the Ruined King is up onto Zed as well. So there's a lot of these champions hitting some very important power spikes, and with the next Dragon coming up somewhere in about 2.5 to 3 minutes, we could be seeing an explosive fight open this game up soon.
We may do, and hopefully that...
Ooh, in fact, Ocelote getting caught out. Does miss his charm and have to use his ult to get away. But they lose the pink ward, and they may get a lot of damage onto the middle turret now for end faculty.
Yeah, indeed, and Obvious is really going to take control of that jungle now. He has another pink ward in his inventory. We'll see whether he goes to place that deep or not. But take a look at the vision, actually, for end faculty. The fact that Gamers 2 swapped all of their trinkets around so early on, and yet end faculty still have so many wards along river and in the Gamers 2 jungle, that is a questionable point for Gamers 2. They need to get those trinkets being used. There's no point sitting on available trinkets.
Well, the most of Gamers 2 have just stayed in their lanes.
Yeah.
It's only Ku that's been around and been near any of these wards, really, to even try and sweep them out. So I don't know why they all picked up sweepers when they haven't gone near any of these wards to kill them.
Just feels like the back timing was right. They're like, we know we're going to need it anyway. Let's just buy a ward, get the sweeper trinkets, and use them on our own lanes for now. But there certainly was a period of time there where end faculty just had a lot of vision on the map for no apparent reason.
Corki's just finished his Trinity Force. Irelia's just finished her Trinity Force. Lucian finished his Infinity Edge. Deathfire Grasp on Ahri. These are big, big items. And
another big item that's very early on in this game, a Ruby Sightstone on Sona. Typically, you'll see that second utility item, something like a Mikhail's Crucible, perhaps, after your initial Sightstone buy. So to get another ward here on your support this early on is very surprising.
Dragon in 50 seconds now then. We see in faculty swarming that area of the map at the moment, looking for wards and looking for vision control. Gamers 2, however, doing the complete opposite on the other side of the map, going in to the faculty red buff, going into that top side jungle, getting control of it. Could this be a suggestion they're going to give up the dragon and go for the top tower, or something else along those lines? Because now they're coming back towards the middle lane, and they've got faculty actually coming up behind them, but not looking for a fight, just turning and facing away.
Yuki used his blue trinket, spotted out a couple of members of end faculty deep in the jungle, so Gamers 2 knew they were safe to get those last couple of wards out, but there very much so was a point there where end faculty looked to be pressuring out, but KaSing, as he sometimes does, will just sit in this middle lane for a bit now with end faculty putting their support there. Would not be too surprised see that, but he's actually going to back away. Let's see what he ends up picking up from this.
Dragon has just spawned as Ku and KaSing choose to base as well. Neither is G2 teams really looking to play on that timer. They're happy to let it just sit there and be alive for a while, despite the fact that, to be honest, the faculty have great vision for doing this Dragon, thanks to that invade on towards the red side of the map. Now we'll see what Gamers 2 do, and of course you said they know that they were in there. They knew that faculty were planting wards around that side of the jungle, so with all those sweepers, I'd hope they can kill some of them off.
You'd hope so. That would bode well for Gamers 2, but you can see KaSing hasn't managed to sweep that one off, and is kind of just walking around wondering where he should be going. Aggro's the Dragon. It's interesting, they're not going to sweep this out. This is a major point here. Ku is fighting
Sedrion actually and taking a lot of damage for it, but Sedrion's going to now take damage from Yuki as Obvious comes in. Both members of Gamers 2 going in one at a time and now having to back away on half health. KaSing takes a little bit of poke from SozPurefect there as well. Ocelote is still now mid, and it looks like Gamers 2 are going to have to give this Dragon up. They do get the top turret and the middle turret, but the Dragon does go over to Obvious, and Ku wastes his flash in there trying to steal.
That was a very weird decision there by Gamers 2. They have the trinkets, they had pink wards in their inventory, but they didn't sweep right in front of the Dragon Pit, which is where the most obvious ward is going to be. And then faculty, knowing Irelia's top lane, just had all the time in the world to take that Dragon, but I guess obviously they equalize it with that top lane tower going down. Kind of all across the map. Somewhat even, but I think those summoners out of Ku are going to be very influential.
They, in fact, extended the lead thanks to getting a second turret as well in the mid lane. So
yes,
2 turrets to 0 now for Gamers 2. Here's 1,000 gold there on Lucian, but he's not quite enough to finish an entire Zeal yet. But he'll go back and grab portions of it, I suspect. And that'll get him nice and close to that static shift. Oh, he got it.
There you go.
Just in time. The gold ticked up. Blue buff is going to go over to Ocelote as Ku arrives there as well. And it's now finally time for Obvious to start clearing out wards that they had placed inside his red jungle for quite a while ago. KaSing's in there replacing them though, so that's going to be a little bit infuriating. As Gamers 2 all ping towards the Baron, but it is just for vision control right now. That would have been a bit crazy. They're going to go for a hook. They do grab Obvious. Jarvan goes over the wall. Ocelote's there with his Deathfire Grass. Going to chase him in towards the Wraith camp. Flash away from Obvious, but Ocelote gets stunned up. Now Zed's going to try and nuke him down, and oh my god, that damage. Ocelote's going to pop, and SozPurefect picks up the kill.
Ocelote just didn't open with a charm there, and yes, he got the DFG. At that point, he should have been able to follow up, but honestly, that's just Ocelote going very deep on a kill that they should have been expecting that crescendo coming out from Sona. They already had parts of that jungle warded, so I'm very surprised to see that actually end up the way.
Hook hits SozPurefect, but there's no damage to follow that up now that Ocelote is gone. Q and KaSing doing all they can to try and defend this middle turret. Yuki did fight onto Corki for a little while, but while he won the trade, can't really do anything more with it as Corki is back and safe under his own bottom tower.
The fact of the matter is the later this game goes, N faculty have so much teamfight presence here. They've got the crescendo from Sona, they've got the unstoppable force. Those two, if layered properly, should just allow Sedrion, Obvious, and SozPurefect to clean the fight up, give Kha'Zix the reset, and really just take the fights from there. So Gamers 2 have to be a little careful walking in head on.
So, Ocelote has respawned. We're going to have another needlessly large rod. Ku hasn't been back to base for a while and is currently out of mana because of it, so he's going to do this Wraith camp and then probably leave. And his items too. He has a Sight Stone. So while Gamers 2 don't have many wards down at the moment, we're looking for an opening.
Down in the bottom lane, Ocelote's looking for an opening as well. Sedrion, no, that was...
that's Yuki's.
That's Yuki's, just used on the buff, just to check for anybody else there, but Ocelote doesn't feel like this gank is on here, so a little bit of time wasted here out of Gamers 2.
Yeah, Sedrion's going up the river now. He's going to get spotted by Gamers 2 ward in a
Ocelote
moment.
wants the turret.
And Ocelote is now going to realize it's not a bad trade, to be honest. If Gamers 2, there we go, he shows himself now. He realizes get themselves the third outer turret of the game. They get a lot of map control from it, but because only Jwaow is here in the middle lane, he's going to do a lot to try and defend this mid turret. KaSing's going to miss the first hook, but now they need support. Bottom turret will fall. Yuki is on his way up here towards middle to help them out. Maplhite was obviously left alone top because of this and does take one tower down. Can they defend the middle? Ocelote is going to be here just in time for the wave as well. It does look like they will have just about successfully defended this. Could they look for a fight? Not with the charm missing. Obvious actually going in onto Ocelote. Going to force him to ult backwards, but they do trade about even on health bars. Now Ocelote's going to do it right again.
Xaxus is coming across though, and they had already pinged him out on the map. And Faculty just get a turret because Xaxus reacts faster than Jwaow in this situation, and that was going to go down anyway, but just Xaxus coming across, just that extra little bit of pressure because he's very difficult to kill with this current itemization.
You see a lot of damage on Obvious and a lot of damage on SozPurefect, both of which just went onto Ocelote in quick succession. Saw how quickly SozPurefect could kill him off first time around, saw how close Obvious came there, and to be honest, Ocelote and the rest of Gamers 2 aren't particularly tanky either. So they've got to be careful how this engage now goes. They are both clearly looking for fights. They've got great engages in Jarvan and in Maplhite. Jwaow has been caught out here by Obvious and Xaxus, but they don't want to blow too much on Irelia as the rest of the team is pushing up this middle lane.
And this has been somewhat of a slow game up till now. That you can see from just the farm itself. Pretty much every lane is nearly on time for 10 CS a minute, which is what you'd pretty much expect. And even the junglers have been farming well in this game. I mean, Obvious had a 30 CS lead earlier in the game, has maintained it pretty much through this game. So it's on End Faculty now as they try and push here, try and siege on Gamers 2 to maybe get the opening with their crowd control, layer it properly and get the cleanup. But Gamers 2, is their wave clear good enough? Because they're sitting quite far back here and they're taking quite a lot of poke.
Yeah, Faculty, as we mentioned, while they don't have much wave clear to defend their own towers, that also means pushing onto Gamers 2 turrets is a challenge. And that's what they can't quite do yet. They're not strong enough to dive, and they haven't caught anyone from Gamers 2 since Ocelote out of position. But now KaSing's got to be careful, as both the Xaxus and Mountain were nearby. Obvious is grabbing himself that blue buff, and then toying with the idea of recalling, but when they check the Dragon timer, he changes his mind.
Yep, Dragon is due up in 15 seconds, and that's an objective that End Faculty don't really need wave clear for. So their composition is pretty much fine to head towards this Dragon now. As it spawns, they obviously are going to sweep this one out. So that's the difference between End Faculty and Gamers 2 on this one. And we already talked about Gamers 2's potential lack of objective control, but this is boiling over. Ku is getting very antsy, looking to go in here.
Jwaw's around behind him. Xaxus and friends are looking to go into the front of the fight. They've got 4 members of Gamers 2 there, but they can't quite find the opening for that Xaxus ultimate.
Yeah, there's no opening for it because Gamers 2 are not only coming from 2 sides, but they're also split up as well. So at this situation, where do they lay?
Flash out onto Ocelote. They're going to nuke him down, and he's the first man to fall. But here's the follow-up from Gamers 2. Is it enough, though? Ku's going to drop down to Kha'Zix, and that's a reset. Irelia does manage to pick off Sona, but now she's in amongst everyone on End Faculty. Flash out from SozPurefect, and Jwaow is still doing all he can. Now Obvious is back in, and Yuki's doing a lot of damage, but it's taking as much from Sedrion as well. Valkyrie over the top to secure the kill. Jwaw's back in and still can't grab SozPurefect. Will fall to Obvious, and it's 4 for 1 in favor of End Faculty.
The initial reset completely sets that fight off for Obvious. He can get the rest of his damage down, but End Faculty using a lot there on Ocelote, and if they didn't get that kill, that would have been a completely different fight because Gamers 2 had enough damage to follow up. But the way it played was exactly how End Faculty wanted it. Get the reset, get the kills. Now you get the Dragon.
Now, they did also get the bottom turret there, thank you to minions, and are now going back to spend a massive amount of gold on each of their champions. So we'll take a quick look at the items that are coming back from that shop. A last Whisper now on Zed and a Brutalizer. BF Sword, damn near complete Bloodthirster, in fact, there from Corki after that fight. And this next one, as if that wasn't explosive enough, just got a hell of a lot better from Faculty.
And there's another item that could get even more explosive here for End Faculty. Black Cleaver just getting picked up onto Kha'Zix. So his damage is going to be through the roof right now. There is not all that much armor outside of Irelia right now. And that is a scary prospect here. If End Faculty between Zed and Kha'Zix can get that ball rolling again, there is a bit of an uphill battle, perhaps, for Gamers 2, because they are currently behind now, and that's maybe, I wouldn't say surprising, because we know the End Faculty result from recently, so this result would be surprising to a lot of Gamers 2 fans, I feel.
Definitely so. Gamers 2 looking for an opening. Actually, they're going on to SozPurefect there. The hook will follow it up, too, so he can't get out, and they do manage to nuke him down. There's 5v4 right now. What can Gamers 2 do with this advantage? Spirit Rush coming out from Ocelote just to clear waves and get closer to Sedrion, but they can't quite land any kind of crowd control on it.
That's exactly what Gamers 2 wanted, though. They needed that pick, and taking away Zed, who at this point would look to split push, allows Gamers 2 to stay as a unit here in this middle lane, and they are far stronger in front of turrets right now than N-Faculty are at defending. N-Faculty are going to have to use a lot to hold turrets in this game. They're going to need to use the ultimates from Sona and from Maplhite.
So Corki doing what he can with rockets to try and soften Gamers 2 up, but now as the next wave comes in, what do Gamers 2 do with it? Looking for obviously a charm from Ocelote if they can't just take down the turret. It will hit Xaxus, so not the ideal target, but the hook's there to follow it. Zed's back up, but now KaSing is split. He flashes away from the Maplhite ultimate, and that's enough to keep him safe for now, but they've got to be careful as Jarvan goes in. Zed's coming back. Ku's got stunned up, but Jwaw's in there too, but there's no damage with them. Lucian is split. Ahri is split. Irelia will fall. Now KaSing's going to be chased down by the rest of N-Faculty's lineup. He's going to get slowed out by Obvious unless he can get over the pit, which he can't. It's another easy kill and a free Baron for N-Faculty.
I don't know what Gamers 2 were doing there. They completely had the Maplhite engaged down, Unstoppable Force off the table. That's the big tool that you want to get rid of. Ku goes in aggressively with his ultimate.
They jumped in onto Ocelote. He's trying to get close enough, but SozPurefect decides to try and finish him. Pop won't be enough, but the Baron's dead anyway.
It's just too much that N-Faculty have right now, and Gamers 2 have got to make better decisions than that. That was a horrible engage in the top side jungle. As you said, Yuki was all the way over in mid lane.
And Ocelote.
And yeah, I mean, all of the damage. 2 damage sources really from this team in team fights. I mean, Irelia is great at blowing one target up, but you can't do that into 3.
I was going to say, he couldn't even do that when he dived into all those members of N-Faculty, and they went back now with even more gold to spend. Zed had to do his as well. 306 Kha'Zix is terrifying. Corki, while he's only got 1 kill, he's 6 assists, and he's outputting massive amount of damage for then Zed and Kha'Zix to get the executes on, as assassins can so easily do. And now that Obvious has got all those huge items, he's starting to get tanked. And you saw there, Jwaow jumped in onto him, in and amongst everything, couldn't kill him off this time, and that allowed him reset after reset to grab those quick kills and the Baron for his team. Now, no one can oppose this Zed. No one from Gamers 2 can even try it. So if they want him to split push, now is a great time to try it. But as the other option is, with all 5 of them on Baron, with a Maplhite engage followed by Sona ult, why not stick around and just 5v5 and dive people?
Yeah, why not? That's a good question at this point. But N-Faculty just damage all across the board. Even Maplhite's picked himself up a Sheen just to go that little bit closer to making sure they get that initial kill in team fights. So there is so much right now going N-Faculty.
He's going in actually onto KaSing, using the Unstoppable Force. Now Obvious is going to come and grab the reset. They slowed onto Ocelote but can't follow him with any more. And the Corki rockets alone have taken him to half health. Now Jwaw's going to try and clear this minion wave as quick as possible, but N-Faculty grab the tower.
That's unfortunately a problem that KaSing has had a couple of times. He always tries to ward at this stage of the game on his own. And it's an easy read when you've got the vision control like N-Faculty do right now. Yes, there's a lot of wards for Gamers 2 in the lower side jungle, but when N-Faculty has stood right in front of your turret, saying, we want this inhibitor turret, there's no use for those wards in the bottom side. All they're doing is giving you vision of empty jungle.
They do face take up the turret a little way, and now as the next minion wave comes in, they're doing even more damage to it. It's down to half health at the moment. Faculty just using that Baron regen to its strength, getting those Sheen procs off from Corki. This turret will not last much longer, and Gamers 2 have to back away from it. They know they can't fight, and that means the inhibitor is down as well. And then again, N-Faculty and objective control. They are 5 turrets to 3. They've got so many dragons, they've got the only Baron, and they get the first inhibitor of the game.
And at this point, Dragon is spawning again. Every time N-Faculty get objectives like this, they're timing it with Dragon on the way out too. And they're coupling multiple objectives every single time they get something. And that is the sign of a team that like to rely on their objective control.
Finally, however, we see something that might help Gamers 2 out and help save Ocelote from all this focus. Zhonya's Hourglass is complete. And if N-Faculty try and blow as much on him as they have done before, it may not work this time. But they're trying to go in. We do see a flash knockup from Ku onto Sedrion, but he's got no support because he goes so deep. Ku's going to get focused down now by Zed, and a 3-man ultimate comes out from Sona. Gamers 2 are in full retreat. The Ignite is burning on Jwaow, and it will be enough. Now KaSing is exposed. When the tower falls, KaSing will follow quickly afterwards. Only Ku and Lucian left alive. for Gamers 2, and in Faculty are looking to end it right now.
What was that? Sedrion has Valkyrie. You flash ultimate a Corki at this point in the game when you've got an inhibitor down? That looked like a last-ditch attempt from Gamers 2 to blow up somebody on End Faculty. Corki isn't even the one that's fed in this game, and that was so much used here.
Gamers 2, with only 2 members left up, cannot defend this turret. Down goes the second Nexus turret. The Nexus itself is exposed, and in Faculty will coolly and calmly take game number 1 in this first best of 3 of the day.
And what a performance by End Faculty, really. When you look at that, you have to say that that was a lot of End Faculty securing vision and objectives, and just doing a great performance. I mean, like, we talked about SozPurefect coming into this game, and I'm looking at his stats, 6-1 and 2 right now on Zed in a 33-minute game is a great position to be in.
Every time someone from Gamers 2 strayed that little bit out of the way, everyone in the Faculty was on the same page, and they went and they grabbed it. And with every kill they got, with every one of those out-of-position players, they followed it up with an objective. That's what in Faculty could do, and Gamers 2 couldn't. When Gamers 2 got a pick here or two, they then were left with nothing to follow it up with. As we mentioned, in Faculty and objectives have it on point. But that was only game 1, and this is